I must confess that for most of my life, I've never given much thought to the matter of curses, and that because I simply did not believe in such things. But after a friend in seminary wrote his final paper on imprecation and asked me to have a look at it, I've since had to rethink my position on the subject. I discovered that the Bible has a lot to say about the subject of curses. In fact, a search reveals 151 references to the word curse in the Old Testament and 14 in the New Testament. Here are a few from the Old Testament, from the pen of the wise King Solomon. The curse of the Lord is on the house of the wicked, but he blesses the home of the just. Proverbs 3 and 3. The people will curse him who withholds grain, but blessing will be on the head of him who sells it. Proverbs 11:26. Whoever curses his father or his mother, his lamp will be put out in deep darkness. Proverbs 20 and 20. He who gives to the poor will not lack, but he who hides his eyes will have many curses. Proverbs 28 and 27. Do not malign a servant to his master, lest he curse you, and you be found guilty. Proverbs 30 and 10. Truth is that curses matter because, as we see, they can affect our businesses, personal relationships, and even determine our social and economic status. We know the famous verse in Malachi that failure to bring our tithes and offerings into the house of the Lord can result in financial hardship due to a curse from the Lord. Here is Malachi 3 8 and 9. Will a man rob God? Yet you have robbed me. But you say, in what way have we robbed you? In tithes and offerings. You are cursed with a curse, for you have robbed me, even this whole nation. Some will say those curses are all in the Old Testament and under the dispensation of the law. This is not true. The New Testament also speaks about curses. We know that Jesus famously cursed a fig tree and it died. You can read that story in Mark 11:20 and 22. The Apostle Paul also cursed a sorcerer named Elymas for hindering the Roman proconsul, an intelligent man named Sergius Paulus, from hearing the gospel which he requested of Paul and Barnabas. That story is in Acts 13:8 through 11. And James tells us that our tongues can be used to bless God and curse others. Keep in mind here that he's speaking to the saints, to believers, to Christians. James 3 8 to 10. But no man can tame the tongue. It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison. With it we bless our God and Father, and with it we curse men, who have been made in the similitude of God. Out of the same mouth proceed blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not to be so. Curses are not to be ignored because they are words, and words have power. We've seen how God created the world with words, how he upholds the worlds with words. And we've seen how Jesus brought death to a fig tree with words, and how he raised Lazarus from the dead with words, when he said, Lazarus, come forth. Life and death are truly on the tongue. But what exactly is a curse? Most of us think of expletives when we hear the word curse. But the meaning of curse, as used in the Bible, is best defined by the Cambridge English Dictionary, which says, it is to wish for something evil or unpleasant to happen to someone or something, as by asking a magical power. In other words, we're talking about more than the use of expletives in everyday conversation. A harmful curse is one in which someone invokes a deity to execute their wishes. That deity may be God or the devil. And it is no secret that many non-Christian religious systems work with dark powers, knowingly or unknowingly so, and cast spells on those they wish to harm or even to enamor. I can tell you about demonic attacks upon my wife, which would not cease until I went into fasting and prayer and was led to a trinket that someone placed in her purse. I can tell you of a young man who came to me because he could not work or sleep until he agreed to marry a girl against his wishes. I can tell you of believers who've been harassed by demons sent upon them by jealous lovers or envious peers. Just as there is light and darkness, and good and evil, there is blessing and cursing. So, what we have here is a real possibility of being cursed by others. That we cannot stop. We can bless others, and that we ought always to do. Jesus said we should even bless those who curse us, Matthew 5 and 44. But what I've discovered is that we can prevent a curse from lighting upon us. And Solomon tells us how. Here he is in Proverbs 26 and 2. Like a flitting sparrow, like a flying swallow, so a curse without cause shall not alight. Curses are like birds flying around the skies in summer. They are everywhere. Eventually, they will land on a tree or on a wire to rest and recover their energies. What the wise man is saying is that we can prevent them from landing on us. And the way to do so is to ensure that the curse is causeless. In other words, it must not bear legitimacy. Is it possible for us to be cursed without a cause? And the answer is a solid yes. Let's consider a few cases of causeless curses. And the first is Job. In Job 2 and 3, we read, Then the Lord said to Satan, Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil? And still he holds fast to his integrity, although you incited me against him to destroy him without cause. Note that God made it clear to Satan that even though he was going to place a curse on this righteous man, that it was a causeless curse. In other words, there was no fault in Job that opened him up to a legitimate curse. David, in Psalm 35 and 7, he says, For without cause they have hidden their net for me in a pit, which they have dug without cause for my life. Jeremiah, in Lamentations 3:52 and 53. My enemies without cause hunted me down like a bird. They silenced my life in the pit and threw stones at me. And of course, Jesus, in John 15:24 and 25. If I had not done among them the works which no one else did, they would have no sin. But now they have seen and also hated both me and my Father. But this happened that the word might be fulfilled which is written in their law. They hated me without a cause. Jesus is the template for all those who seek to conform to the divine image. They will experience both the power of his resurrection and the fellowship of his sufferings, including being cursed causelessly. The case is watertight. It is possible to be hated without a cause. So don't pull your hair out trying to figure out where you went wrong if you're facing persecution or abandonment. So long as your heart does not condemn you of sin, just maintain your stride with the Lord. The impact of the curse might touch you on the exterior, like it did to Job, but your Redeemer lives, and he will come to you soon. The wise man likens the causeless curse to a flying swallow and a flitting sparrow. One flies overhead like a plane, and the other hops from one tree or wire to another. Neither of them can land and remain. In conclusion, our world is filled with many angry, bitter, and envious people. They fill the airwaves with much negativity and curses birthed in envy and jealousy of others. Those curses fly like birds. And like a bird, they look for a landing spot. But if we walk in righteousness and obedience, the curses might hover over us like flitting sparrow, but will not be able to land. They will go overhead, oblivious to us. Curses are a reality. that they do not have to land on us is also a reality. So walk in righteousness and obedience, and every curse will be reversed. Our heavenly control tower will refuse them permission to land.